We won't wait for him to come back. We'll just wait. We'll just wait. He'll just come back and be like, "What the fuck's going on?" Hello, everyone. Welcome to a Sunday session of the Ought to Know Better podcast's Berardi and Coke. We're being quiet because Gilly doesn't know. Sunday session, Sunday therapy session, because that's what sometimes we all need, isn't it? But Gilly doesn't know. Oh, he does know.
What's he doing?
Never mind. Let's run the intro and we'll crack on.
Hi, this is Don Matteo, and you are listening to the Ought to Know Better podcast. Let's do this.
Hello everyone, welcome along to a Sunday therapy session with me and the wonderful chaps I'm joined with today, Luke and Matthew. How are you both? Are you well?
Do you know what? I don't feel as bad as I would after a loss usually, I don't think. And we'll probably come on to the reasons why, but it was all, I know there was a bit of false hope and there was a bit of optimism before the game, wasn't there? But realistically, when you look at the lineups and I didn't really expect any less. If I'm honest with myself.
What, basically purely based on the lineups that you saw before the game? Not any
just purely based on purely based on where the squads are. They're playing in the Champions League midweek, where we've got no fixture. Do you know what I mean? There's a real gulf in class, and realistically, they should be beating us by 5 or 6, 7-0. You know, they should be beating every team like that. So yeah, I'm not disheartened. Yeah, I'd like to have got a point, and I think on balance we could have got a point. Did we deserve a point? Absolutely not. But yeah, I don't feel as bad as probably what I normally would after a loss. I've sort of made my peace with it. It's not realistically a game we expected to get points in before the season started, or even any point during the season. But then, having said that, you could have said that about the home fixture.
Yeah, I mean there were glimpses, weren't there? I mean we'll get into it obviously properly or whatever, but you know there were glimpses of us, you know, pulling some stuff together. It's just a final third, and we just seem to be falling over time and time again in the final third and not making many opportunities, but certainly not taking them. Right, Gilly, crack on, mate. What did you? I don't know if you want to do it half by half or you know whatever.
Well,
we've got Matt in there as well. We'll get to him in a little bit, but you know, give us your thoughts on yesterday's game.
Just in that run up to the game that Luke talks about there, I think that there was some positivity coming out about the players that they had missing. You know, you look at their defence and players that are missing out of there. One at Podlads put in that Reece James were out, and it's like, well, okay, well they'll just bring another £50 million player in from the bench then.
Did you hear the commentator mention something about the injury list? He said, the commentator just said, I actually tweeted it, that Potter had not been helped by a long injury list this season. Really?
Tell us about it, lads.
No, really. My heart bleeds for you.
They've got 31. They've got 31 players played in that first team, I think, this year.
And he broken records with the number of changes he's made to his starting lineup. 70 odd.
That's almost 3 11v11s in training.
Yeah.
Like you can almost have 11v11 and then another 11 to come on and play again. It's fucking nuts.
I mean, I don't want to be sympathetic to him, but it must be a bit of a nightmare having to choose a starting 11 from that many players, wouldn't it? But fucking bollocks.
But you look at, you know, Thiago Silva has been their best defender and he were out, and then Reece James he's a strong player for him, and then he were out, and then Mount always scores against us, and then he were out, and you could see actually people going, do you know what? Those players that do damage against us, they're going to be out, and that might give us an in. And you know what? We're beating 3-0 at home, and I think that 3-0 at home, it was so anomalous. I think for me, I went draw in our predictions league, in the hope rather than expectation category. I think you look at the sheer volume of money that they've spent and the players that they've brought in. You know, you look at Fofana were 80 million, something daft like that.
70 odd million. So yeah, he's fucking bonkers. So Thiago Silva's out, but they bring a 70 million defender on who scores against us. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it wasn't the like for like change, but when you look at it, every single one of that squad has or is due to play at some level of Champions League football. Do you know? There's a real gulf in class, and there's no beating around the bush there. They've got almost 3 squads that they could probably, arguably put in that would be all worth more. They could literally play anybody anywhere and still be worth more than our first 11.
Yeah,
you look at like the starting 11s when they pop them up on the radio, and then obviously you look at that.
You're allowed to see the starting 11s on Twitter and stuff as well.
Oh
Smarty.
yeah, sorry, yeah, that's exactly what it was. Yeah, I heard about it on the radio, of course.
I flew to South Africa to watch it yesterday.
Yeah, you see their starting 11, and then you see their substitutions. You think, oh, that's quite a strong bench. And then you see our starting 11, you think, oh, and then you look at our substitutions, you go, oh, yeah, we probably got 1 or 2 players in there. Probably not. I mean, there were none to want that really that you'd ideally expect to make some sort of a difference when you enter the field of play, but. Rocker isn't going to make a difference. He's just going to show some sort of positions up. Matteo Joseph, however, did actually surprise me. He got well stuck in, and actually, I think he had registered only 1 of 2 shots on target in the whole game. So, as well as Ilya Melia, our keeper.
I'm surprised Rocker didn't come on though.
Yeah,
really surprised we didn't see Rocker, unless he's still carrying a bit of a knock or something. I don't know.
Well, yeah, maybe you don't know, do you? But you talk about their bench. They've got Aubameyang there, Arsenal, Barca. They stole Mudryk off Arsenal, didn't they? Arsenal thought that they had that all wrapped up. They signed him for 80, 90 odd million, whatever that was. Ziyech as well wasn't cheap. And those were their bench players. And any of them, we sign them and they walk into our side.
Oh yeah,
and they're not getting game time for them. So that shows that gulf in playing ability. I think the only way a lineup like ours goes up against a lineup like theirs and wins anything is if you've got the cohesion as a team. Because I don't think they've got that. They've got lots of quality players that are individual quality without it being a team. And I think that's where they're struggling at the moment. I think that's exactly where we've been struggling too, in that we don't have the quality of a Champions League squad, but haven't really had the cohesion either. It's been that chaos that we talked about before. That's going to take time. I think there were flashes of it, glimpses of it. I think there were a couple of occasions we actually strung 8 to 10 passes together and we got the ball forward. We didn't get it forward as quickly as I would have liked, and we gave them opportunity to get back. But you could see that there were glimpses of it. It wasn't enough for me, and I think we were all talking to each other in the pod chat. I think we were really, really lucky not to go in at the break already down, but already behind, should I say. But, we could have easily been 3-0 down at half-time.
Oh, yeah, easily.
So, but you do give away that sort of chance against the Champions League squads that you're playing against sometimes. So you get to half-time and you think, we could have been well behind here. And then you think, well, actually, if we just keep this going, we might get something out of this game, and it's the hope that kills you.
No, absolutely. I said something similar, and we had that 10-minute, I think probably 5-10 minute period towards the end of the first half where we looked more assured and we looked like we were kind of, like you say, going a little bit more toe to toe with them. And they were thinking, we've weathered the storm here a bit, Let's get in at half time, 0-0. You never know what can happen because they were, their own fans were booing them. So if you got your fans on your back, who knows what could happen, But as it happened,
who bloody knows? I was hopefully optimistic. I think that's probably the same thing, really. Hopeful and optimistic. But the more we ground them down, and the less they didn't score in that first half, with João Felix hitting the bar and Meslier making a great save from Havertz when he was clean through. I was getting more and more optimistic that we might get a point, and then obviously, look, we rode it out long enough, and realistically, they were good value for that win yesterday. Nobody can take that away. Yeah. We didn't. Could we have got a draw? Yeah. Did we deserve it? Probably not.
On the grand scheme of things, I don't think we did. We were well beaten, weren't we? Really, I think just outclassed. Like
Gilly, and I don't think anybody really had any. I don't think anybody dropped a stinker. Again, there were people that have been having a go at Melia afterwards. Well, he was so far off his line for some of them, and we've not learned from the previous one. And it's like, yeah, okay, I'll give you that.
There was one person who had a stinker.
Go on.
Jack Harrison.
Yeah. He didn't cover himself in
He
glory,
was
did
fucking awful.
It didn't do himself. So we have to take him off free kicks and corners. We've got to.
Yeah. And Aronson. We shouldn't be nowhere near them.
It's really, really frustrating me that they're still there.
I actually wrote it down. It says Aronson and Harrison should be nowhere near set pieces. That was the last thing I wrote down after giving up yesterday.
Max, just on that, Max Warber used to take free kicks for Red Bull, whichever one it was, Salzburg, I think, and
he scored a couple as well.
He was scored a couple. Why on earth would you let Jack Harrison stand over it? Who I don't think is at the target with one this season.
I don't think any of them do. Even Nonto struggled to get it over.
That one that was comfortably over, we're 3 or 4 foot over, is probably one of his closest efforts.
It's bad,
and that should be the minimum.
Kicks.
Get it on target.
When you get free kicks in that. Go on, mate. Sorry.
You don't expect to score. I mean, unless you've got somebody absolute quality with your free kicks, you don't expect to score them. This is how Southampton have stayed up. Their game plan is right. Let's get into the final third. Let's dive. Let's get a free kick, and we're going to score from it. 1 out of 2 or 1 out of 3, something insane, insanely regular in terms of scoring goals. Beckham was the same. He would regularly score goals from free kicks. He'd get 8 to 10 a season. I can't remember the last time we scored direct from a free kick. I think it was Calvin Phillips.
Aronson hit the post, didn't he? Against
he did.
Scum.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
But I think it was Calvin Phillips the last time he scored from direct from a free kick, and it was about 3 seasons ago.
Wigan.
They want a crowd. So we'd have to go back. We can ask stats. But I can't remember us doing it. But it's not even just that we haven't done it. All right, Aronson hit the post and fair enough. And it were unlucky, really, because if it had just been slightly further over, it would have gone in off the post. But there's not been many. There's not been many at all. And even when we're not trying to score direct from a free kick, we don't look dangerous. The ball just drifts out of play. It goes into stands invariably just about every single time. So, we've talked before. I think it was when Cy Johnson were on. I asked him about specific coaching methods. Blackburn away. I asked him about specific coaching methods. Do you bring in a specialist attacking coach, a specialist defensive coach, a specialist set piece coach? And he said, it depends on your manager. Well, yeah, it depends on your manager and your approach. And we were like, well, we'll sack that off then because we haven't got a coach at all at the moment because it was while Jesse were in. But for me, I think it's Rocker's good on them. Obviously, he want there, so he didn't come on, so he couldn't take it. I think we've all seen that Greenwood's got some capability with his set pieces, but he didn't come on until 80th, 82nd, something like that. So you
played really well actually. Just on Greenwood, he played really well when he came on.
He played it all right.
He looked relatively quick as well. I've never noticed how quick he is. He looked. He was getting about. I thought, like you said, Gilly. I don't think there was anybody other than Harrison, which might be a bit of a vendetta from me because I don't think he's a great player. I think he's been very poor this season. We've seen he's got touches of class, but other than Harrison yesterday, I don't think anybody played particularly badly. I just don't think we played well.
Yeah,
or well enough. Do you know what I mean?
It was just good enough to get over the line. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can see in some of the passing shapes and things that they've been working on in training. You can see it passing it into either the number 10 or whoever was most advanced, and then laying it off to then McKennie or Adams, whoever was there, to then look for somebody else. And we saw it a couple of times. I think Adams had a shot which just missed the top corner during that passage of play, and I think we did it a couple of other times where the ball got lost under his feet, and Chelsea defended it relatively easily. So you can see, I mean, Gracchi's only been in charge for 8-9 days, I think now, and one thing we could definitely sort of, I'm certainly convinced of anyway, is that we have improved. We've tightened up. We're not getting beaten on the break with the crossfield ball 3-4 times every 10 minutes. It does look a lot more structured. I think the only thing we are missing or lacking is confidence, and that confidence. Once we bang a couple of goals in, we'll just breed. And I feel that could be the key to us staying up. We just need a few goals. We need to give somebody a good fucking hiding one game and take all our chances. Similar to Chelsea earlier on this season, we need to beat somebody of that stature with with goals and literally take the only chances you get in the game. Take them all and beat a team. Confidence will start coming back, and I feel that will be the difference between us staying up and going down potentially. Hopefully, Rodrigo's back to start banging them in as well soon.
I don't know why it is that we can't seem to shoot from more than 6 yards or try and dribble a lot of the efforts in with it quite far into the 18-yard box. You know, for me, there's plenty of players out there that should at least be letting fly with a couple of, you know, worldies from outside the box, even just to test a keeper. Get it.
We saw Willie do it against the Scum.
Exactly, but like, there's not enough of it. That's my point.
Yeah.
You know.
No. Sorry, I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying they've got the capability.
Yeah. It's just, why isn't there more of that? You know what it's like if you smash one in at keeper and he spills it. You've got a Rutter or a Bamford, or well, hopefully a Bamford if he's got his shooting boots on, that's going to tuck that away. Hopefully, you know, from a second chance. But there's none of that. It's almost like we're just trying to get it into that 6-yard box to try and create something and smash it in just to make sure. Just have a fucking go. How many times do we see Click and that score? Pablo from outside box, just fucking these wonder goals. The professional footballers should be able to do this sort of stuff.
Yeah, just thinking about it. You look at Willie against the Scum, Harrison against Accrington. Actually, our shot conversion from outside the box must be pretty high because we don't have many shots, but we have scored goals.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Ironically as well, in the warm-up at Fulham and Southampton, I think, actually, at home at Southampton, they were working on passing it into somebody with their back to goal on the edge of the D on the 16-yard box, who then lays it off, and they're hitting it from outside the area. Yeah. They're hitting it, and they're banging them in every time. There was McKennie, Somerville, Nonto, Harrison, and a couple of others all working on that specific drill before the game at Fulham, and I think at Southampton as well. And I reckon Robles was beaten 9 times out of 10 of every shot. I mean, it's not Robles wasn't throwing himself about as much as he probably would in a game, but just to get those on target, why are we working on that drill in 15 minutes before kickoff? But then in a game, we're doing the absolute opposite. I think it's complete confidence. I think it's confidence. Yeah. I think they're told to actually do that and actually have a go, but they're just not confident enough, and they just see an easier pass. And it is difficult. You know, it is difficult as a footballer. I mean, not that I've ever been a footballer of anything like what level these guys are at, but imagine the pressure and the confidence. You know, if one of them skies it, all the crowd boo. You should have passed it. You know. Yeah. You know what it's like. We know what it's like as a Leeds fan. We're fickle as fuck. If it goes in the top corner, the best thing's to slice bread. If Dukara had missed that effort versus Notts Forest, he'd have been getting slagged off to this day.
Well, I don't know. You just wouldn't say anything about it, would you? That'd be it. It'd been a close one, or whatever. You don't speak about. Oh, remember that time that player skied one into fucking West Stand or whatever. It's one of them, innit? But you remember your good goals. But you remember those opportunities where you just, he might have it crossbarred or he put some pressure on. Keeper had to spill it out to the left, and then there was a bit of a scramble. There's none of that. It's just, we'll try and pass it in. The play breaks down. Aronson or Harrison usually loses the ball, in and around that area, and then they break. And then it's just like this vicious continuous cycle of us getting nearly there. Sometimes maybe getting slightly through, but normally just trying to attack their box, attack their back line, the complete breakdown of our attack, and then their counter attack, and then us being under pressure again. It's just like that constantly happening.
Yeah, and you do that against Brighton or Arsenal in the games that are up next, and you get umped. And Brighton just umped West Ham yesterday.
4-0. Yeah. So.
Now, that's an 8-goal swing from their previous result, because they won 4-0 against Forest the week before and then lost 4-0 yesterday to West Ham. So, I mean, the variability there is quite insane. It's absolutely mad. It's put them back on very, very similar goal difference to us, and they're still right in it.
Skip commented earlier, he said, I think our midfield 3 are too alike and we have no creative playmaker. What do you think to that?
I felt Aronson played well yesterday in that 10. I thought it was our biggest attacking threat most of the game. And I think he was taken off prematurely. I would have pulled Harrison then instead of Aronson, I think.
Yeah. No consistency from him though. But that was under obviously different managers, wasn't it?
I think he's been good. I think he's been good under Gratcher.
I agree. Yeah. I think he's been, I wouldn't say a marked improvement, but I said there's definitely been improvements there from him. There has been a few comments, but I'll fly through a few after. We'll get Matted. We'll get him. See what he wants to say. We'll join him in.
Hey guys.
Morning, evening. Oh, Christ, serious talk
Good day.
as well. Good day, mate. How the fuck are you?
Great.
How's it going?
Good. I thought our defense was really good. I thought our defense was like... I think our defense has gotten way better. I don't know why. I just feel like we're better at the back, and we didn't deserve to concede. The goal we conceded, I think, was avoidable.
And I'd agree. I think it was, but I still don't believe it. I mean, it was Mesley's fault. Would he have saved it if he'd stayed on his line? Possibly. We'll never know. However, I don't think it's fair pinning that result on Ilyan Meslier yesterday.
No, it's not.
Especially with that big save he made with his right.
Against
Yeah. That would have.
And he almost scored. He almost scored at the end as well.
Yeah.
Oh well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. I think almost scored. He got a shot on target, which is as much as anybody else was capable of doing.
I'd have been doing some French dancing in my living room had that gone in, I tell you. I'd have had the garlic out and all sorts.
Be twatting each other with baguettes. We've got an interesting stat actually that Gilly's put in the brand that I've lifted out of LUFC data. If you want to pop that up for us, Gilly. Ilyan Meslier has registered as many shots on target as any outfield Leeds United player in our last 2 Premier League away matches.
Premier League away matches. Okay.
Yeah, he didn't say
Premier
that, did he,
League
when we were
away
talking
matches.
about it? But yeah.
But wasn't
that's because I was doing it off my head rather than reading
was
it.
the last
off
away match before that Everton then?
And we were dire in that, weren't we?
Yeah.
In fact, didn't he have a shot? Didn't he go up front towards the end of that one as well?
Yeah, didn't get anywhere near it, did he?
Yeah. But yeah,
it shows the desperation, though, doesn't it? When you keep us going up front in
it's
multiple
like a cup
games.
final, like 93rd minutes.
Yeah.
I like it, you know. I quite
halfway through
respect
season
that
as well.
I like it. You know, it means that every point is valuable, and that we're not willing just to sort of, you know, take a 1-0 loss away at Chelsea, as lots of teams probably would. They'd be quite happy with that. But yeah, I don't mind that. I don't mind a bit of. It's exciting as well, innit? Especially when he got his head on the end of it. I thought, fucking hell! I was literally like, bonsoir.
Sound like Del Boy Trotter.
Okay.
So have you got any player performances you want to get into, Matt? Do you want to pull anyone to pieces? Do you want to give anyone a pat on the back?
Harrison should have went off at halftime, but I think that's really, you can blame the manager for that. I mean, Harrison doesn't choose to stay on, and if he doesn't get subbed off, he's not gonna. I don't know why was Nonto on the bench. Was he like? Did he have like a knock or something?
No idea.
I've not
We
seen
said the same
anything
in our group chat
related to that.
Yeah, it must have been like
Who's
a
that?
tactical.
Nonto. I've not seen anything about him having a knock or anything like that. And he were moving fair enough when he came on, wasn't he?
Yeah. I think with Willig and Nonto, I think we've got to appreciate that this lad was playing in the 21s for the first quarter of the season. He was brought in as a 21s player. He would be ripping that league up by now, by the way. And he wasn't. He was realistically he was probably going to be integrated slowly in a perfect world into that first team. Now he's come straight in and he's started performing. Other teams have recognised his quality. They've then doubled up on him, marking. So he's now been neutralised quite early on
and kicked the shit out of him,
which is difficult for a young lad. You know, from going from being an informed player in the Premier League to then actually I've got 2 people on me. I can't get away with doing fuck all now. We've got to really manage the expectations with him. So I think it's quite good management from me. And now I'm going to contradict myself here and say it's probably not good management because he's our biggest attacking threat. But you got
to manage the pressure, haven't you?
Absolutely. I think that's what I'm getting at. I think we've got to realize that we've got a player there. He's not just a number, and he's not there just to to make us buzz and sit on the edge of our seat every week. And I think taking that little bit of weight of expectation off him will probably be better long term for us rather than just a short term fix.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, and better for him as a human, just relieve some of that, and because I think Jimmy coming back in hasn't had the impact that he was having previously. If you think, he scored in 4 consecutive games, Rodrigo's out, and then Paddy out as well, it would have felt like the world was on his shoulders, wouldn't it? So no, I agree with you, Luke. I think it's important to manage that expectation. We've talked before about how Man City managed Foden. Everybody could see that he had the class and the ability to be able to be a player, and they still weren't starting him in every game. And that's because of that weight of expectation and how that's going to impact on a young player. So, yeah, you're right. It needs some time out of that spotlight and away from that pressure.
Just flick
You'd
that
think they'd
last
be able to
comment back
manage
up,
that a little
Mike.
bit better from a coaching aspect, though, wouldn't you? If you're having someone being doubled up, or if you're having a lot of attention on one
Someone's
specific
cheating.
player, you what?
Someone's cheating. If somebody's being doubled up, somebody's free. Somebody's cheating, and therefore you expect somebody else to have an impact on the game.
Well, that's kind of where the line we're going down. If you've got two players on one player, surely that leaves spaces in and around, or pockets of space in and around that sort of area. So why not, use that, get some more players in there like Somerville and stuff. I mean, obviously I don't fucking know. I'm just trying to use my logic to try and dictate, right. If they're doing that to one specific player, then there's got to be space around that player to utilize to get in as well. But what do I know? Who knows?
I think this is the point you were making before, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. With I think first half we were under a lot of pressure down their left, our right, through Ben Chilwell, who got
Chilwell, wasn't it?
Yeah. He had so much time down there. He was just having a field then, and I think that falls back to Danny's comment. I think Luke Ayling was marking the left winger. I think it was it Felix started out there.
They were swapping round, but at times.
So Ayling was left to mark him, and Somerville, because they were playing five at the back, Somerville was just leaping forward, and Chilwell was leaping forward, and Somerville just wasn't tracking back, which meant Ayling then had to go over to Chilwell, although he'd already found the space, and then a centre back having to come over and take over on João Felix, which left them and a man over the opposite side. He grew into the game for me, Somerville, though, and he certainly looked our biggest attacking threat. Him and Aronson. I think Aronson with the ball at his feet, but Somerville, when he got a bit of space in behind, he looked like he was probably the only one, if anybody, who might get something from somewhere. But I think he needs to understand that it's so important that he gets back, especially against the sides like that yesterday.
Have you ever seen him make a tackle?
I don't know.
I don't think I have.
I can't think of any.
I know that they were the Chelsea, obviously with their three at the back. They do play obviously quite a high line, but they were trying to constantly pressuring our left and right backs, and they were nowhere to be seen. Like you guys have already alluded to, people in the comments have gone nuts for. He just doesn't track back. He doesn't even just to add that little bit of pressure. If you don't want to hurt yourself, don't put a foot in. But at least be a presence. It gives that attacking player something to think about. If you've got Somerville right at side here or right up your ass, you've got to make a quick decision. That leads to mistakes. But they were just free to pressure our right and left backs. And
it's not even just that. It's not being somebody. So if you look at the space that Chilwell had, as Luke mentioned. That crossfield ball was a constant out for them, and as you're saying, he just needed to be stood next to him, and then that pass isn't on. Yeah.
It's all good and well if you
those
big tackles.
Fill the pockets of space with a player. Even you just stood there, you're a blockade. I can't pass through you.
It's all good and well if you're Lionel Messi in a team that's going to have 80% possession every game, and you don't really need to track back because the ball's coming back at you sort of in a couple of seconds anyway, and you can sort of float around and find that pocket of space. But we're not in that situation. We're nowhere near that situation. We're a bottom half side that has to work fucking super hard for every fucking bit of possession, and it almost highlights how little he does defensively because of that. Simply,
yeah. Agreed.
Matt, have you got anything else to say, mate? Before we let you go, because we've just sat here and talked amongst ourselves and left you out. So, have you got anything else to add before you shoot off, bud?
I thought Ruta was good as well, and and Joseph was good. I didn't think we have no one else to come on. We've got no other strikers, so he was the only one to come on, really.
Yeah. Did all right, though.
Yeah.
We've already mentioned, we thought he did okay. Him and Melier with the shots, That's what you need, isn't it? You keep it coming up. But, right, mate. Have
Matt,
you got anything else to add?
Yeah.
Matt, just a quick question before you go. Do we stay up or do we go down?
I think we stay up, but it's going to be close. It's going to be tight towards the end.
How many points do you think it's going to take to stay up?
Oh, it's so close right now. What is it like? The bottom three are all on 21, and we're on 22.
21, yeah.
I think there's 6 points between 12th and bottom.
Yeah.
I
just need somebody to say that in comments. Hang on, let's have a look. Yeah, we're on 22. All the bottom three are on 21. West Ham on 23, Leicester on 24, Forest on 25, up to then Wolves and Palace on 27. So, yeah, from 12th down to 20th is just 6 points.
So if you get like 2 wins in a row, that could change everything.
Oh, yeah.
If we got 2 wins in a row,
wouldn't it be nice, Matt?
If we got, one would be great. But if we got 2, there'd be dickheads on Twitter saying, "Oh, but it's a late Champions bloody league.
Your passport's renewed."
It's like, fucking hell, shut up, man. Just calm down. We're all fickle, aren't we? We're fickle football fans.
But we are not in the bottom 3.
But we're not. Yeah, we're not in the relegation places yet. So it's something to be positive about. So, no, thanks for popping on.
Always good to see you, Matt.
Always good to see you from
Cheers,
over
Matt.
there.
Yeah.
Cheers, pal. See you in a bit. So, boys, where do we go from here?
Sorry, mate. Just on the point you made about Ruta and Joseph, I felt Ruta was good yesterday in terms of what he did for the team. I just feel, again, a lot of expectation on Ruta because of the fee we paid for him, and because he's starting. In an ideal world, Gigi Ruta would probably be coming off a bench as a bit of a novelty at 60 minutes, giving him a bit of game time, implementing him into the Premier League, giving him that experience. But because of where we are in the situation we're in, we're relying on somebody who's never played in England before, who's 21 years of age, who we've bought because of his potential, yet we're expecting him to come in and start getting a hat-trick every game. It's not realistic, No. I think he'd be better in a front 2 as well because of his style of play. I think he's got it all. I think he's a bit of a complete forward. I was literally just going to
say the same. It'd be interesting to see him playing up front with Bamford.
Yeah, I think they complement each other quite nicely and quite well. But then you sacrifice
Harrison.
Probably, Harrison. But
for me, it'd have to be Harrison. But
I mean, in terms of position,
I don't think you would
sacrifice a 10.
You do. I don't think you would sacrifice Harrison.
Would you?
Yeah, you would, but I think that's more likely to be Aronson because you're looking if you're playing 2 up front and you look at his history, Grazia's history, he's likely going to switch to a 3 at the back to get 2 up front. He's not going to go to a 4-4-2. He's likely to go 3 at the back, which means Jack Harrison probably plays as one of your wing backs.
Over Firpo.
It's funny actually. No one's mentioned anything about Firpo yet. I was going to come on to that.
I thought he played well. I thought he had a solid game. But I think Jack Harrison or Firpo is more likely than Aronson retaining a position there. I think if you look at, all right, Struijk and Cooper have been out, but Struijk, Cooper, Koch, Verber all available. They're your back 3. So Ayling's probably on the right. And it's Alien or Christensen, isn't it, really? Who both are capable going forward. I think Christensen's issues more defensively, which is not what we expected with a big, strong Viking coming in, as we all had it sold to us before they joined us. Yeah. But in central midfield, you're not going to put Aronson. You've got Rocker, you've got Adams, you've got McKennie, and you're going to pick 2 of those 3. You're not going to put Aronson in there, are you? Because he just doesn't have that. He's all right at ball carrying. He's good at pressing. He runs around a lot, but he doesn't have the capability to be a box to box the way that the others do.
No, I agree, and I think Danny's made a good point here, and it's something I'd like to see is probably Ruta being given a bit more of a free role of a forward behind, or not even behind, but towards the side, maybe just a little bit more sort of a little bit off. Like playing off the back of Bamford, so Bamford leading the line, which would be great for him because it means he wouldn't have to do as much running about and pressing, and then a bit more of a free rolling in behind. Let's see what he can actually do because he's shown he can find the right pass. He's shown he can beat a man. He's shown he can shoot. He can win the ball in the air. So he's almost got everything. He just needs somebody with him to do it because he doesn't have that at the moment. He's relying on one of the wingers or somebody else. Whereas if he's playing more centrally. And I know, Danny, you're probably saying maybe play him out wide, but I'm thinking more centrally, but in and around the number 9. But yeah, you'd probably sacrifice the 10, and you'd probably I don't know how we'd line up if we were to play 2 up front. I'd love to see us play 2 up front though.
Yeah, if you were to play 2 up front though, who gets in? Do you pick Rodrigo or do you pick Bamford? With
I think it depends who you're playing with because I think if you've got Rutter and Rodrigo, I think that they're both going to look to drop off that front.
Yeah. I was going to say the same. You'd play Bamford with Rodrigo or Bamford with Rutte or vice versa. It depending, like you
or
guys,
even with
you know,
Willie, because
exactly,
he's another one that's played as a supportive.
You've got a few
forward
options
as
there,
well.
haven't you? You've got
Yeah,
a few options there.
but again, what we're saying there now is we're still missing a 9, an actual 9. You know, Rodrigo was scoring goals, but he was dropping off. He wants to get involved in that 10 position. He wants, you know, even when he's playing up front on his own, he wants to drop off and get involved in the play and the build-up. So, you know, that to me seems to be his natural game. You look when he were playing for Spain, he wasn't leading the line. He were dropping off, and there were wingers and forwards getting in advance of him from midfield. So, I think, that for me, I think they'll end up getting in each other's way a lot if you're playing. Unless you say to Rodrigo, "No, fuck that. He's going to do that job. You're not doing that job. You stay up front." But I think with Rutte, I think he doesn't have the goal threat that we were hoping, but I think he is growing into it. You know, he is capable of, as you said, Luke. He is capable of beating a man. He looks like he's exciting on the ball. If we weren't under so much pressure and we were able to play with a bit more freedom, I think we'd be seeing a lot more from it. And it is, you know, that weight of expectation. We talked about how the fee might be impacting Rodrigo's mentality. He'd been Spain's number 9, and we're talking about that. And this kid has come in costing more than that, and doesn't have the experience. Yeah, doesn't have the experience that Rodrigo had. So if that potentially affected Rodrigo's approach to the game and was a bit of a weight around his neck, we've got to be conscious of the fact that could well be impacting Rutte as well. We've got to be fair with him. He's only a young lad, isn't he?
It's taken Rodrigo three seasons for us to see the best out of him. 3 seasons it's taken him, arguably.
You've got 2 different topics of discussion there, though, haven't you? Like you've said.
I think
we've already alluded that the Rutte is the price tag we paid for him was the amount of money it took us to lift him out of his club. It wasn't specifically a price tag for that player, whereas Rodrigo's was because we were paying that money for Spain's number 9.
But I
it's
think
totally different.
It is completely different. But I think there's you've got to, you can't have one rule for Rodrigo and then say actually we're that's not right. Just because we've paid this to lift him from a club, we expect him to hit the ground running. Mm-hmm. You know, I think if anything, it should probably be the opposite way around. We should have been expecting Rodrigo to hit the ground running because he was Spain's number 9.
No, that's exactly it. Yeah.
Yeah, whereas with Rutte, we actually bought the potential and what he can grow into. And as I said earlier on, ideally, Rutte would be used as a bit of a novelty, a bit of a gimmick off the bench that we could bring on in a game to change a game or you know, to introduce him slowly. We all know the Premier League's not
like
easy
a shiny toy.
Yeah, like a
shiny toy, like a
pog.
Yeah. What about Tazos? Don't leave out Tazos.
But I think we've got a real player in Rutte. I just think it's a shame again that we're relying on somebody that age and that inexperienced to lead the line and to be getting the goals. And look, he almost did it at Fulham. He scored once, he hit the post once. Didn't quite look like scoring much yesterday, but nobody did, in fairness. So I think we have got a good player. I think again it's going to come down to man management and hopefully Rodrigo's back sooner rather than later to
end of month. End of month, is it? I think
it is end of month. Yeah, I think he was hoping to be back in March, and I think the club doctors were saying the first game's in April.
All right.
Is that after the international break? Then is it? It's Palace at home the 7th, 8th. I think we've got a game before that though. I think we play Arsenal. Do we play before that?
We got Brighton, Wolves, then Arsenal.
Yeah,
and then international break.
Brighton at home, Wolves international.
No, Arsenal's after the international break.
Yeah. And then Palace. Is that right?
Yeah.
Forest.
Arsenal, then Forest, then Palace.
Sorry, Forest midweek. Yeah, that's been chucked in there, hasn't it, the bastards?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So we've got Arsenal, Forest, and Palace all in a week of each other at the start of April.
Jesus, we've got three home games on bounce.
Oh, beyond that, yeah.
Yeah, we've got Forest on the 4th of April. We've got Palace on the Saturday the 8th. And then we've got freaking Liverpool at home on Monday the 17th.
They moved the Liverpool game, didn't they? Because it was the anniversary of Hillsborough. So that was meant to be on the Saturday, I think, or the Sunday. Sinistero, what's he looking like? Is he due to come back? Because I think he would add a lot to this.
Still not seen any time frames. I've not seen anything. It's really strange. I don't know what we're up with Rocker. I didn't see any detail on what we're up with him. I've not seen anything about Sinistero other than I think it's his foot. But I've not seen any real detail.
some sort of kicking muscle that you would assume. Something required for kicking a ball.
So the detail in the team news on the BBC website is Liam Cooper, Pascal Strike could return after suffering muscle and concussion issues. Verba should recover from the shoulder problem. Winger Luis Sinisterra, who's not featured muscle against the Scum on the 8th of February.
You've mentioned a few players. Like once we get them back, obviously whether they take some of the starting 11 spots back off, those that are currently in them, it strengthens our bench again, doesn't it? And then you've got more options off the bench. I think
Rodrigo walks into the side though. If he's fit, he's in.
I think so. I think you're right. Yeah, I think he does.
I think Sinisterra does.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think the only issue with that is he was patchy coming back, wasn't he?
Exactly, because of how he came back from his last injury, it didn't seem to impact a lot. It was very much Aronson. I think
really the thing to say with that is you don't know if he were brought back a bit too soon because of the need of the first team.
Yeah,
maybe so.
The worst thing with that is then players are more likely to break down and then be out longer, aren't they?
And they're our most clinical players for the footballers. Look at Rodrigo.
It's in his scarce teams.
Yeah,
Andy shoots from distance and he kicks it bloody hard. So I like that. I like it when lads kick it hard from fucking miles away. Who's our best? Oh dear, he's gone. He's got to put 20p in meter. Who's our favourite for starting three then? Because as a couple of people have already said, having McKennie, Adams and Rocker in the middle, are they too similar? I mean, obviously McKennie is a box-to-box midfielder.
I think it depends on the formation you're playing. I think if you're looking at, so for me, I think there's an option of a 4-3-3 there because we've got a back four that we're playing at the moment, so we just leave that aside for the moment. I think if you've got a fit Rocker, Adams, and McKennie in midfield, actually what that gives you is a great base for the attacking players to just go and attack. And there's less emphasis on them doing the defensive element of it. So if you're wanting, we'll still be looking to defend from the front and apply pressure to a defence. But if you sit off the defence out of possession and make sure that you set up and that you're setting up from that base, I think there's a lot to be said for the three of them being in there dominating other midfields. Because you don't often see a midfield three. So other sides it's asking different questions. And I think if you've got, let's say, Willie and Jimmy supporting Paddy, I think that's again asking different questions to the 4-2-3-1 that we're used to. So I think it depends on the formation. I think in that 4-2-3-1, you probably play McKennie further forward if you're playing all three of them, and just still have the two deeper, Rocker and Adams. So I think it depends on the formation you're playing as to the personnel that you pick. But we've got a wealth of wingers. We talked about Cine, we've got Jimmy, we've got Willie, we've got Jackie, we've got Aronson that can play out there. And I think Aronson's best period for us was when he was on the right, when he first started with us.
Right, yeah.
So we've got the talent there. It's not having the impact that we want at the moment, but we've got the talent there. And I think you lose a little bit of that if you go to 4-3-3. But actually, if the opposition lends itself to us playing in the 4-3-3, this manager's done that in the past.
I think just from what you said there about Aronson, I think I'd be tempted to do that. I would drop Harrison and Somerville and have them as impact players or off the bench. I would look at a 4-3-3, but I'd play one deeper than two. So I'd probably play either Adams or Rocker. Probably Rocker actually deeper than Adams and McKennie. I've Adams literally staying. I'd have Rocker as a bit of a quarterback style, and I'd have Weston McKennie on a bit of a free roll where he can go travel up and down, win the ball. Yeah, proper 8. And then I'd start Aronson on the right. I'd start Aronson on the right and Nonto on the left. Or
he did well there for us.
Yeah, there's no harm, and then you've obviously got opportunities or options then where you can even move McKennie from the middle, go back to a static 2, and then move McKennie slightly more forward, play with 2 up front, make a sub. There's so many options we've got, and I think a question I asked on Twitter this morning is, have we improved under Gracchi? And I think quite simply the answer is yeah, because we've got so many more different options, and and he's not afraid to change and try different things as well.
Yeah.
But not only that, we've tightened up. I think the only thing lacking is a bit of fucking confidence, man. Once we've bagged a few in that onion basket, we'll be
Onion basket.
Onion
The passing
bag,
sometimes
basket?
Onion bag,
can be a bit
yeah.
leery, can't it? Onion bag, yeah. But I think positionally and everything else, it's actually, more pleasing on the eye as well. It's not scatter cash. It's not absolute bedlam in the middle where you've got 3 players running after one and all that sort of stuff and that crazy sort of pressing. It's nice to see a controlled, more calmer sort of.
We don't press it all. We don't press it all in their half.
Yeah,
and they're happy
I think,
to keep
and
the
I think
ball.
that's evident. Yeah,
And
yes,
rather than go absolutely a million miles forward, they're
Agreed.
happy to retain that possession, knock it around a little bit, not necessarily tire out the opposition, but at least frustrate them slightly. And and it's just a much better game to watch. Yes, we're still not getting out of the results, but I'm sure they'll come. But we've already said, it's there. It's just it's just getting that confidence. Let's have some bloody cracks at bloody goal from outside at box, and
yeah.
and then it'll come.
I think a lot of that's competence, though, isn't it? You look. Adams is always available for the ball. He doesn't care who's marking him. He doesn't care what's going on around him. He always makes himself available to receive the ball. I think. We talked about that 3 in midfield. If we take that option, Rocker, Adams, and McKennie will all keep possession, and they'll look after the ball. And then they'll find someone. They'll find a teammate. I think you look at the amount of times we give the ball away from Arrington. It is in those areas rather than in midfield, and I think that there's a lot to be said for that because that allows you to get a foothold in the game. It's not constantly just turning over the ball and then trying to win it back like we were before. A lot of people saying we're not able to keep possession. I'm not sure that's the case. When you're playing against a Champions League squad, yes, it's difficult to retain possession because you're playing against really good players. There's no getting away from that. It doesn't matter what formation you're playing; it's going to be tough.
It's more evident that we have, and we can keep all the possession more than what we did under Marsh. And I'm not. This isn't a Marsh banging show. We've slagged him off enough and done whatever we.
It was an intent. He didn't intend on us retaining possession. No. He didn't want that. He wanted us.
It was get to goal in 4 passes or 5 passes or something stupid, wasn't it?
Yeah,
and that was
try and win the ball up the field. If they've got the ball in a position where you can force a mistake from them, all well and good. Our problem was we weren't able to force the mistakes. But that was the intent.
Problems here.
Yeah, it was, and they almost contradict each other's styles, although they're all similar at the same time. It sounds really weird because the way we play football in terms of the ball at our feet is very similar still. Although we're not as narrow, but in terms of the actual football we're playing, it's very similar. Because we've got a bit more space, each player isn't trying to find somebody only 3 yards away from him, so it's a little bit more controlled and a little bit more, dare I say it, relaxed. So it doesn't look as chaotic, which probably is detriment to what Marsh's style was, because although it worked sometimes, because it was so chaotic and so short, the opposite of that is probably what we're seeing, which is. I mean, we've got to be honest. It's a lot more pleasant to watch when we're passing it around and actually controlling it and making another pass. One of the things we were mentioning only 2 weeks ago was that we can't string 2 passes together. Now we seem to be able to do that. We seem to be able to get the ball in the dangerous areas. It's that part where we're lacking now. I think. Look, for me, it'll come, but it's if will it come soon enough?
Yeah,
that's it, and that's the biggest. That's the biggest thing for us, isn't it? It's all right to say, no, we're improving because we did a lot of this under Marsh, but we need results now. And, time's ticking away and it's getting to a critical point in the season where we really, really do need points. Otherwise, we're going to be playing championship football next season. Well, let's, just before we wrap it up, because we've been droning on for a little bit now and I don't think much of us have got the right lot else to say. I just want to... Skip's made a good point in the comments. Are some of the players struggling mentally with playing for Leeds?
I think so. I think it's a massive way.
It's a heavy shirt, isn't it?
It is. Even when you go away from home, we're still louder than the home fans.
Oh yeah.
So no matter where you go, all them players will be able to hear is Leeds fans, no matter what. So if a stray pass, if they choose a wrong option, all they will be able to hear is the Leeds fans' drones and negativity. On the positive side of that, when we're playing well, they should be able to hear the Leeds fans again, which should be encouraging. But it's a massive weight to play for Leeds. I feel, and you've only got to look at the season where we had no fans and how well we did with that squad. And I'm not saying that's the only contributing factor of that season, but it was certainly a bonus, and it certainly did benefit us playing without fans.
Absolutely, yeah.
I'd agree with that. I think if you look at the history, that there is a long history of players that we've signed, even when we were in the lower leagues, that we signed thinking, right, okay, we've signed somebody that always does damage against us. We signed in players here, and we never spent a huge amount of money, but we went and signed players that you're thinking, right, okay, here's a goal scorer coming in. Bandor Billy Painter, for a prime example, we signed him, and he'd scored goals, and he'd scored all different types of goals, and you're thinking, great,
Swindon?
okay.
Did we sign him from Swindon?
He definitely played at Swindon. I can't remember where we signed him from.
Rotherham,
but he'd scored goals where he'd been through his career, and you're thinking, right, okay,
Doncaster.
now we've got a goal getter. And he came in and he just could not cope. He couldn't cope with our fans. He couldn't cope with the weight of expectation that Leeds had.
The pressure.
Billy Sharp.
Billy Sharp's another one. Marlon King. I mean, to be fair, actually, to Marlon King, we played him at wing. He was an out-and-out nine, and we put him at wing. But
Billy Sharp didn't get enough minutes for me. He didn't get enough of an opportunity. He was kept on bench for a lot of his time, and he just got frustrated and wanted to leave, didn't he? But he was a good player, Billy.
But there is definitely a weight of expectation issue. I think players manage. There are a lot of managers that. I mean, if you look at the state of the managers that we've had, the ones that convinced themselves that they were good enough weren't, and the ones that might have been struggled with the expectation. And I think, it's just. It is a heavy shirt to wear, and I think the expectations on the greater now.
Did you see Gers' interview with McDermott? Have you fucking seen our interview with McDermott?
We went first.
Wash your bloody mouth out, man. Sort it out. It's on YouTube. Go watch it. If you haven't bloody watched, all of you who are watching, if you haven't watched it, go bloody watch it. We were in there first. We had the first scoop. Can't speak.
Just on Billy Painter, scored. Never going to believe it. Scored 29 goals for Swindon the season before we signed him.
Did you get one for us?
And then in 2 years he scored 3 for us.
Jesus.
Yeah.
It's bad, isn't it, really?
To all intents and purposes, you see somebody scoring nearly 30 goals in a season, coming in and you're thinking, well, we're going to make more chances than they do. This is brilliant. This is exactly what we needed. Yeah, exactly. And he couldn't cope. It was so obvious that he couldn't cope.
Yeah. No, it's one of them. You never know what you're going to sign. It could be, you buy a European player, say Rodrigo, for example, and not that he were absolutely banging him in left, right, and centre, but he was performing on in a big stage. He was scoring goals and that. Came here and he wasn't really in his first year away. How many times, like you said, we get a player that think he's going to definitely bag some. He's going to be absolutely scoring for fun in this league, and then they come and they're an absolute wet sausage.
Sometimes it doesn't even matter how much you're spending. You look at Kesman. I mean, the Dutch leagues is difficult. Some of the players that have moved from the Dutch leagues this season have really struggled. But you look at Kesman, I think he'd scored something upwards of 80 goals in 2 seasons. And he went to Chelsea and did absolutely fuck all. Nothing at all. So, I think we've been to and fro on exactly what the statement was. But Sergeant Wilco made the statement about it was either 3 out of 5 players or whatever, 2 out of 4 players. If you're getting around that are successful in your club, you're doing really well as a manager.
Yeah.
So it's always a gamble. You don't know what you're going to get. Coming into a new country, a new league, a new team, a new playing style, a new coach. It's always going to be different.
No, absolutely right. Right then, boys. That's
question for you then, Smarty, before we go.
Oh.
Are we staying up?
Oh.
You asked Matt. It's only fair that you answer the question.
I'm gonna say yeah. I think we've got enough. I think given a few more weeks and a bit more training with the boys, I think Javi will get us turning some decent results. I think we're more than capable of beating the teams that are around us, and that's going to be massively important. I just think a cup upset sort of game against, maybe beating Arsenal or maybe beating Liverpool again would be brilliant. But we just got to keep going the way we're going. But who knows, mate? It's one of them, and it's so tight down at bottom of the table. Fucking hell, I wouldn't want to put my house on it. Let's put it one way.
Luke,
what about you?
I think for me, we've still got to play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've still got 6 games of those bottom 8 clubs to play, a mixture of home and away. And I think the season will be shaped against those. I think we have to look at the others as free hits. And I as much as we say we hate that terminology on here, we do want to pick up the odd point on here. We do hate it, but ultimately we win those games or pick up a few wins from those games and a few points elsewhere. I think we'll be all right. I think they're going to be they're going to be the decider, and that's ultimately going to decide where we're playing football next season. So I think we've got enough. I think we've got a good enough squad. We've got some good players coming back, some important players coming back, should I say, as well. And I think they will be the difference. I also think that we're very close, very, very close to being a decent side. We've got a few things we need to change in the final third, few tweaks. We've got a bit of time over the international break as well to do that, which has probably come at a good time for us and not so good time for other clubs. So yeah, I'll be watching this afternoon's game with a little bit of interest, not really bothered which way it goes, I don't suppose, as well, because it doesn't really make all that much difference. I think mentally we'd like to stay out of the relegation zone, just because it's not nice to be in there.
That's more us, isn't it? That's more us as fans than the club,
I think so. But I also think it might play on the players' minds as well a little bit. I know it'll only come down to goal difference or whatever anyway. But I think we have got enough to stay up. I think it'll be very close, and I think it will come down to probably West Ham game. Is it the second to last away from home? I think we might need a point there or something like that.
Second to last game is West Ham. The last game Spurs, and you can absolutely guarantee that they'll be playing dross all season. They'll come and play like frigging prime chuffing Barcelona when they play us at home last game of the season.
Yeah, we've got Bournemouth on the 29th of next month, which away, which is going to be an important game as well. So yeah, I think we've got
that bank holiday.
Yes, it is a bank holiday.
They mucked up there, didn't they?
Yeah, imagine if we would need a win to stay up or something like that down there.
Oh God.
So yeah, look. In a nutshell, have we got enough to stay up? Yes. Do I think we will? Yes, but it'll be very, very close.
It's going to be another close one.
Yeah, I mean, you look at May, and there's not many points on offer. If you can be really serious about it, we've got Man City, we've got Newcastle might still be going for Europe or even Champions League at that point, and we've got Spurs last game of the season. You're thinking, okay, but if you get a result out of any of them, you're doing well. And West Ham are down and around us.
I think the only saving grace with the Spurs game is if they've already qualified and can't qualify any further, they might rest a few. If they've already made Europa League and they can't get into the Champions League on the last day, will they risk playing Kane and Son and those sorts of players? It's in our own hands anyway. Ultimately, I don't want to be relying on other results. I think we've got enough as a squad, and certainly what I've seen of Gracia so far to suggest that we've probably got enough to stay up. And although it will be hard work, and we need players to start stepping up, players to start working a bit harder, and
be accountable. Exactly.
Absolutely.
Get them in a leadership group. Are you saying?
No, not that quite.
I think that we need to put ourselves in a position of already being up by the time we get to May. And that's my issue with it, because I think if you look at April, there's 7 fixtures in those days in April. And I think if you look at, I've just named the teams that we're playing against in May. I think if we're in the bottom 3 hits in May, we stay there. We already need to be clear by the time we get into May.
Yeah. I think for me as well,
counted in April.
Ultimately, we're quite lucky that although there's not been one team that's been really, really shit this season, there's 5 or 6 that have been shit. And even though we've not beaten Everton and we didn't beat Forest, they're still a lot worse than us.
Yeah, there are worse teams than us in that league. Yeah, Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we just need to perform better than them at the end of the day. So we will see, won't we?
Indeed.
Right, boys. I think we've rambled on enough for long enough, should I say? Thanks everyone else for joining us. Those in the comments, Matty from joining us from over in Australia. G'day. I don't actually think they say that right, like, I think it's just us. But anyway, thanks for joining us. All the
They don't drink Fosters either, but we still say that they do.
No, they don't. No one drinks that shite, do they? Christ. Thanks everyone else for interacting with us through this Sunday therapy session that we like to have on every now and again. If you haven't done, like and subscribe to our channel, and I think we've got a show coming on Tuesday.
See you next Tuesday.
Gilly, and a few others will be here. So we'll see you on Tuesday. Thanks again. See you later. Take it easy.